Beloved mighty I am presence, beloved legions of light from the heart of God in the great central sun. In the name I am that I am, Sanat Kumara. Let the light of 10,000 suns descend. Let 10,000 keepers of the flame of the heart of Sanat Kumara come forth and take their stand on earth. Legions of light, O glorious 7 archangels, we summon you in the name of victory, in the name of Kartikeya, in the name Jesus Christ. Gautama Buddha Maitreya. Come forth, O legions of light, to cut the light bearers free from death and hell, from all astral entanglements, all addictions, all habit that is not of the light. Let the seraphim of God procession now through the auras, the 4 lower bodies, the hearts and the chakras of all light bearers, keepers of the flame, souls of God destined to ascend in this life. Seraphim, seal them in the womb of the cosmic virgin. Seal them as they are gestating to come forth. Seal them, O God, O fiery angels of light. Seraphim of God, hear our call. Violet flame angels, hear our call. Come now for the rescue of the light bearers. Beloved Alpha and Omega, wield your mantle and your presence through us. Go forth, O entire spirit of the great white brotherhood. It is the mandate of our God and our beloved Mother Mary to save the light bearers. Therefore we command you in the name I am that I am, Elohim of God, archangels, lords of the 7 rays, cosmic beings of all octaves, come forth for the rescue mission in this hour as we tend the violet flame upon this altar, and in our focuses and in our study groups and in our prayer circles. Let the violet flame be the quickening. Let the amethyst crystal and the violet flame campfires now be that God solution and that nestling in the heart of America that will surely be the warmth to warm hearts as to the very living presence of our Knight Commander Saint Germain. O beloved Saint Germain, by our voices, our hearts, our deep desiring and our presence here, which is our vote of confidence in you. Beloved Hierarch Saint Germain and beloved Portia, hurl your miracle pouch through us. Let it be the miracle light of your heart, our heart one. Beloved Saint Germain, hurl that miracle pouch into the heart of every light bearer, and let these light bearers become suddenly illumined to the divine reality and find themselves marching to the holy mountain of God, with seraphim, salamanders, gnomes, sylphs, and undines. All elemental life, go now for the rescue of the children of the sun. We ask it in the name of the Good Shepherd and the world teachers. We accept it done this hour in full power. O Lord my God, Amen.
Saint Germain, your miracle house.
In the name I am that I am, in the name I am that I am, Jesus Christ, Saint Germain, I decree. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. So here we are in 361. Do you know it? Here we are instructed not to make the words fit the music, not to make the words fit the music, but to make the music fit the words. As you would be in prayer with angels, you would be saying these words to a divine melody. So we don't want to crush the words into a prescribed space. And the word pure, the two center letters, are the name of the ancient city where we all lived with Abraham, Ur of the Chaldees. And that word means light, as you know. You may have heard Mark chant the word Ur. Have you ever heard him on tape doing that? Or we can do it with him right now. Now we have a marvelous language in English that gives us all kinds of phonetic keys. Pure means that those who are pure have the power of the original light of Ur, of the Chaldees, manifest in form. The final letter E in English is always energy that now is precipitated. So many of our words end in E, but it's not pronounced. It's silent because it establishes the fiery coil going within. So that is the meaning of the word pure, and we all know we have such a delight in pure water, pure air. So now you know it's the power of the light of Ur that is coalesced in form. So let us chant Ur. you very much. I'd like to give you some teaching before dinner. So you have heard the first lecture of Summit University last evening on the diet of the Eastern Adepts, and I would like to continue right where we left off. We have reviewed the positive and negative characteristics associated with the 5 pairs of organs, when they are functioning properly and when they are malfunctioning, and what foods are detrimental to those organs. I would like to take up now which foods are beneficial for those specific organs according to the macrobiotic diet and the benefits of different categories of macrobiotic food. You'll recall then that the heart and small intestine is created by the fire energy. The fire of the heart is the spiritual fire. The small intestine is the physical fire, or the yin aspect of that fire, because it begins to put the fire in the food, the fires of digestion, of breaking down that energy. Now there are foods and tastes beneficial to the heart and small intestine, and all of these are mainly created by the fire energy. So the foods created by fire energy are good for the organs created by fire energy. First of all, the taste is a bitter taste. And in this world and in the West, bitterness is constantly being eliminated from us because it's something supposedly unpleasant. So it's sugar-coated or eliminated entirely, and we lose the taste for bitter things. How many of you like burdock root? It's a bit bitter. When I go walking in the woods around here with my children, I always pick dandelion leaves and say, "Here, eat this." And they make a scowl and they don't want it. It's too bitter. But dandelion root is what nourishes the heart and small intestine, and I have not tried eating that raw out of the earth, but it is a root that has the bitter taste. Then there are roasted seeds. As you know, almond has a bitter taste. Other nuts do. Roasted sea vegetable powder, dried parsley. There is gamasio, which is a sesame salt. There are walnuts, and there is tekka, a condiment that is made from root vegetables and miso. Now, listing these items does not tell us in what quantity they are safe to use. So you must be careful that you do not overdo, because overdoing anything is harmful, even if these are the fire foods. You can see then that too much sesame salt or too many nuts, too much gamasio, too many condiments can overtax the very organs that are stimulated by it. Some of you know the principle of homeopathy, where a microscopic degree of the substance is stimulating to the body, to the organs, to cause them to function on their own. In the highest and purer state, we are intended to eat less and less food. And food is intended to stimulate the organs and stimulate the natural flow of the light of Alpha and Omega from our chakras to nourish those very organs. So we are not in any way recommending that you reduce your diet, but that you remember that food in itself and alone is not what causes us to be light bearers. Food as digested is feeding us, but food is an alchemy of stimuli that causes there to be created a chalice of vibration whereby it is the light that descends through the organs that builds the body and sustains the body. So this is a very interesting concept. And of course, the basic principle of the macrobiotic diet is that we chew every mouthful of food a minimum of 25 times. Now, the motion of the jaw is an ancient practice of yogis who know that the jaw movement is instrumental in raising the Kundalini fire. This chewing process is also stimulating the production of saliva, which is alkaline. Mixing the saliva with food gives it the balance then for digestion. When it comes to aduki beans, for instance, you chew them 100 times per mouthful. When it comes to rice, just normal brown rice, 50 times. Now this is a wonderful meditation, and you find in the monasteries of the Ascended Masters and their retreats where people are still physical and they are still eating, the mealtime becomes a meditation upon the absorption of the light of God. Now, when we do not assimilate our food, we have not derived from it the basic nutrients or the consciousness of angels and elementals who have created it. There is a consciousness behind all food, brought forth to us by Sanat Kumara, endowed with life by Elohim. In America, who is intended to be the Guru Nation, the path of master-disciple, being outpictured here, we are accustomed to see a rebellion against the living Christ or the living Guru. And that rebellion is nowhere more noticed than in the false hierarchy religions of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. These are true religions, but they have a false hierarchy version of themselves in the false teachings of their orthodox versions. And so what we see is that the real fire of the teaching is not desired by those who are the leaders of those movements. For the real fire of the teaching would give to the individual followers their independence from their leaders. And so they do not desire them to assimilate the fire. So the same thing that has happened to our bread, white bread, stripped of its nutrients, has happened to our religion. So we are not assimilating the original nucleus of sacred fire of Alpha and Omega, of our religion, our reason for being, our divine plan, the true systems of God government, and the abundant life. So the serpents have come in with a false hierarchy version of all of the 7 rays that make up the functions of civilization. So it is with food. And with the coming of refined food, you had the breaking down of the real components of our divine reality. So showing that at all levels we desire to assimilate the sacred fire of God, we take the trouble to assimilate right here in our mouths by the process of chewing. So it's a very sacred event to come to the table and eat. All food is holy. When you know what you're eating and what it is doing and how it relates to the organs, for instance, when you are partaking of burdock root, roasted seeds, and these are the taste foods, then you come to the grain that sustains heart and small intestine would be corn. The vegetables would be vegetables with leaves growing in a large expanding way, such as collard greens, bok choy, etc. So when you are chewing this, you are in a meditation for the building of an inner lining of light in the heart and in the small intestine. And you are sending that energy consciously to that area. The heart corresponding to the heart chakra, the small intestine approximately at the solar plexus. And so the work of the violet flame through the chakras allows the chakras to release the energy into the organs, whereby the organs have the health and the strength to derive from the food the vitality. Now, since our organs have become lazy by processed foods and by our not chewing foods, they have to be stimulated once again to work hard. Now, the best way we can heal our organs is to liquefy our food in our mouths. And that is what we're doing by chewing. Now, the saliva is one of the most sacred parts of your body. Jesus took his saliva, called spittle in the Bible, he mixed it with earth, he created a paste, and he applied it to the eyes of a blind man, and he was healed. You have to understand that by the consciousness of this alkaline substance that God has given you, combining with these natural foods, you are sending healing to those organs. It would be good if we had a small notebook so people could quickly thumb through and see how the foods you are eating are relating to these organs. So I personally find that when I go into some place where food is partaken of, let's say it's a pizza parlor or someplace, rock music is going on, everybody's talking at the top of their lungs because they can't hear each other because of the rock music. Then they start, raucous laughter and all kinds of jokes and energy. It's impossible to sense any holiness of food, period. It's not even a place to eat. Obviously, you go there with your children when that is the thing to do, or you feel you need to do that. But what I'm saying is that the holiness of the experience of taking in the divine food of God makes me feel like I'm back in Eden. And the holiness of this food is what has struck me about the macrobiotic diet from the beginning. That it comes in such a balanced form and is so readily a chalice for alpha and omega that one already feels the light in it before one has blessed it and called forth the light. And so it's like the bread of heaven, it's manna, and it's like angel food come to us. And so most of the time, my preference is to eat alone so that I don't have to answer questions, because usually when I eat with people, they take the opportunity to ask me questions. And then I have to speak when I should be chewing. And when I'm speaking, I have to be thinking, so my energy goes up to my head when my energy should be in my belly, digesting my food. And, if there ever is time for me to eat alone and be still for a meal, which does not happen a lot, I feel that the assimilation is very high. And it's the way we enter nature and the way nature enters us. And everything we eat is in a process of transformation, because these plants, their cells now enter our cells. So they gain a higher consciousness by our assimilation. Now, when I was eating meat or flesh foods, I always felt and prayed that I was endowing a lower form of life with a higher consciousness. And I was taking in the spirit of that elemental and that consciousness into the higher consciousness of the Christ, preparing that species, that group soul, for the day that they will receive the threefold flame. So whatever you must eat, it must be with a tremendous giving of your life and receiving and assimilation. And if you think about eating in that way and practice it, you'll find great peace coming upon our community. Now, many times when we've worked hard all morning and done a lot of physical labor and we come to dinner and we're very hungry, the desires are very active. And sometimes people have a tendency to look at food and criticize it for its sameness or for this or for that. It's very hard to please such diverse life streams coming from all over the world who have been on so many different diets and tastes, and their taste buds are attuned to different things. What is very important, therefore, in our meals is to be grateful for the gift of food itself, the gift of life, and to contemplate what a miracle it is that that food is before us, and how many hands and elementals and angels and planetary evolution had to be gone through to produce food that is precisely suited to the body we are wearing. Those things amaze me as I contemplate them. So peace is very important to the healing of the body. And the wonders of communion with one another, you don't have to be totally silent because there's time between mouthfuls to be talking about things. But it is a communion of hearts of all who are in the process of coming together for those holy moments when we partake of our holy food. And I really think that that communion of hearts can be very profound when the sensitivity of that communion is not covered over by loudness or by complaining or by bringing to the table problems. Now, aside from the world problems that we are determined to watch on TV with our evening meal, we can be silent when watching these. But if people come to the table and bring all the burdens of the day and the burdens of the world and the injustices in Washington, I feel it's very hard to digest food. So table discussion is very important. And I had little signs on the table with little charts of the presents when we had our headquarters in Colorado Springs. And my request was that people speak about the content of dictations, bringing some precious pearl and treasure of a teaching that they have gleaned from recent dictations, and share that and speak about it. And it doesn't have to be long speaking. One can talk about the joy and the thrill of this teaching or that statement, and therefore one is actually chewing the teachings when one is chewing one's food, and one is assimilating and concentrating on that specific dispensation, anecdote, or whatever. And those who are actually considered polite in good society, who come to table, are those individuals who have carefully prepared, in consideration of those with whom they will be eating, good conversation that would be of interest to those persons. A good host or hostess invites people who are compatible in conversation and interests, and who will bring up topics that will evoke a response from those around the table, drawing everyone into that experience. So eating has always been a social experience. And we don't want to say that the communion and the peace that I'm speaking about should take from us those precious moments of communion. So the way to commune is in the literal communion bread and wine, which is our teaching. And I think that it is a wonderful thing, because many, many times chelas bring to my attention things that I have not remembered have been said in dictations that are very important. So if you are reading the teachings and you come to the table, many of you have written me letters and said, I'm not a sociable person, nobody talks to me, nobody considers me somebody that's important to be around. And my answer to you is, you need to be prepared to give something very special, which is the heart of the teaching. And so when you come to a table, you don't just sit quietly and say nothing and contribute nothing. My mother always used to tell me, when you go to dinner somewhere, you must contribute. You're considered an unpolite guest if you are not contributing to the uplift and the sense of joy and happiness that people experience when they are together. So that is your responsibility. Don't wait till somebody has something to say to you and then feel bad because nobody talked to you today. You initiate a love spiral of something beautiful that can be said, and can be said in as long a time you want to spend between chewing this food. So you see, it doesn't become a long chattering session. So that's what's on my heart about our eating. And while I'm speaking about eating, I would like to make the following comment, that it is extremely impolite to pile your plate high with foods, to take your first, second, and third helpings all at once, to be sure that you have enough food to eat, because in case you come back for seconds, it might be all gone. Now, I can remember people doing this as long as I can remember being in this community. And I can also remember that I would have to leave the area where such people were eating. It's like they dig into this mountain of food, and everything will be piled on everything else, the salad, everything. It's actually a literal mountain. And they just put that fork in it like a shovel, and they're off. Now, first of all, we want to see on our plates what is appetizing to ourselves. When you have too much food to look at, your body elemental is already getting indigestion. It's the truth. A body elemental is a childlike heart, and you find yourself more readily able to eat a plate of food that is nicely served. So you take a nice portion of each item. If you've never had something before, you're not sure you're going to like it, you don't take a big serving, take one taste and throw it away. What is on your plate, you must eat. We don't want to see anyone coming to the garbage can and shoving food into the garbage can, because it's holy food. It's holy substance. It's just like communion. So we have a fine system. You come to the garbage pail and you throw your food away, you will be fined $1. So it is not done in a spiritual community. So if you are not going to eat your food, and you're not sure if your child is going to eat that food, take a little bit. Take as much as you absolutely know that you will. Eat and chew properly and digest. Now, one of the reasons you start eating less on a macrobiotic diet is because you get weary chewing. I got a sore jaw the first week I started chewing. I'm not kidding, I really did. All my muscles were sore, muscles I hadn't used before. So you have so liquefied this food that every single bit of it goes instantly to be absorbed by the body with the digestion process and goes and nourishes the bloodstream. So it doesn't weigh heavy in that small intestine and the large intestine and so forth and create problems in the bowels. So when we waste not, we want not, and we all have karma for the waste of energy, whether it's light, electricity, water, heat, talking too much, expending our hours and our days in idle chatter instead of serving God. So we can start out the new year with eating everything we put on our plates. Now this is what is accepted in good society. You never go to someone's house for dinner and not clean your plate. Therefore, when you are being served, you must be alert to state, "Thank you very much, that's enough," when you are being offered food, so that you be sure your host or hostess does not serve you more than you plan to eat. Now, people in America are very polite, and if you don't eat your food, they clear it and so forth, but it's simply not done. As a sensitive disciple on the path, it should pain you to throw away food, and you should never train your children to do so. You can come back for 7 helpings, all you want, but every time you have a second helping, clean your plate. Now, as soon as you put a portion on your plate, that portion of food has an alpha-omega spiral in it. It has its yin and its yang. So when you finish the whole portion, you have finished a spiral of energy of that food. So when you don't finish it, again, you don't have the wholeness. And you can feel that when you see that food left there and you're not eating it. You can feel that you should be eating it, but it's too much. So if it's a spoonful, it will have that spiral. If it's a cupful, if it's a potful, energy will always be balanced in holy food. Corn is the grain, I told you, for the heart and small intestine. The vegetables with leaves growing in a large, expanding way, such as collard greens and bok choy. We come then to the stomach, spleen, and pancreas, created by earth energy. Stomach, spleen, and pancreas. The following foods and tastes are also mainly created by earth energy. Now when we come to the taste, this is what the vibration of these organs vibrate to. It doesn't mean that you can eat a lot of this substance. The taste for this earth energy and these organs is sweet, naturally sweet. Following are examples of sweetness. You may not eat this substance more than once a month. You have to be very sparing about sweet foods. Pumpkin, rice itself is sweet when you develop a taste for it. Corn, chestnut, sweet rice, dried fruit, applesauce, rice syrup, barley malt, amazake, which is the rice drink that is made that most resembles mother's milk, which we give to babies in the community. I recommend amazake, but I always dilute it by taking the rice oat cereal, making a puree out of it, and diluting that with water until I have a drink, and then a slight amount of amazake in it gives it just the suggestion of a sweet taste. I'm extremely careful about taking in sugars. All of us should be. Now, the pancreas is the area afflicted by too much intake of sugar, to the place where we may have low blood sugar or diabetes. The pancreas then, that is no longer able to function normally and that can no longer handle too much sugar because it's simply been burned out on sugar, has to be treated very delicately. and so only very small amounts of sugar. Now, I still hear in this community, people will offer me all kinds of things and say it's okay because it's fruit sweetened. It's like it's the label of unlimited entering into the partaking of this substance. Whether it is fruit sweetened rice cream or ice cream or any kind of confections, cakes, cookies, pies, all of these things. You don't need them, but if you must have them in very, very small amounts and rarely. And I charge you to observe your mind, your body, and consciousness in the moments and hour or 2 hours following your partaking of this substance. And if you notice a drop in the balance of your body, the focusing of your mind, your memory, or your energy level, you have taken too much sugar. And you mustn't do it, because at that moment, you're not a chalice for the power of the earth energy, our beloved Virgo. And you are inflicting a burden too great to bear upon the stomach, spleen, and pancreas. Now, the wonderful grain that so supports these organs is millet, the most alkaline of the grains. Millet is wonderful to eat when it is creamed, which means it goes through one of these food grinders and it becomes like a puree. It's the most wonderful substance. It's like a pudding that is not sweet. Until I ate this kind of millet on the macrobiotic diet, I never quite knew how to eat millet and enjoy it. It always seemed dry and difficult to get down. But millet is something I look after, because millet, of course, shifts the body, the intestines, to the alkaline side. The vegetables are round vegetables, like a round stomach: cabbage, pumpkin, squash, cauliflower, parsnips, Brussels sprouts, string beans, green peas, snow peas, kohlrabi, and broccoli. All of these wonderful foods are very, very healing. They're very holy. You can have one of your violet flame crystals in the kitchen, right where you prepare your food, a statue of Mother Mary. You can have your tape recorder and play the rosary or the Jesus watch the whole time you're cooking for yourself or your family, and you're stirring into the food the songs you're singing and the joyous decrees you are giving. You can always taste food that has that high vibration of the holiness of the cooks in it, and food that is prepared in restaurants that's very hurried, that's made on the basis of a profit incentive. Even good food prepared with a wrong vibration should not be partaken of if you can help it. For instance, if all of a sudden a huge, enormous row has occurred in the kitchen and people are yelling at each other and somebody's cursing and swearing and they put the dinner on the table, unless you're going to call forth the violet flame and ask it to be blessed and be sure that it is demagnetized of this, it's truly better not to eat. In one point of the word, if you've been around for this, you're too upset to eat. Your body is not in the mode of assimilating, it's in the mode of defending itself against discord. You must insist upon harmony in your family and your household. In food preparation time, mother should not be disrupted. In eating time and in digestion time, children must not be allowed to just do anything they feel like and create a commotion. And adults must govern themselves also. My recommendation is that the weighty problems of family, money, marriage never be discussed before dinner. Everyone is at their lowest energy. It's the time to pick a fight and have a fight, because you have been going without food for from 2 to 5 hours or more, and what everybody needs is food. They don't need these kinds of discussions. As I have counseled people in marriages and given them this one pointer, you have a holy meal together, you prepare the food together, you eat it together, you pause a while for the digestion to take place, for the energy to be restored. Then, if you want to discuss something that has to be settled and discussed, then everybody is at his optimum level. Anything that has ever been emotional in the past in a relationship between yourself and someone else, recognize when your energies are the lowest point and when they're at the optimum level. Never try to settle problems when your energy is at the low level, which is always before mealtime, or when you just get up in the morning and it's been 6 or 8 hours since you've eaten. The problem with this is that problems seem bigger at those moments, and many people want to discuss them and pressure you to discuss them at those times. So you have to graciously decline and say, let's eat first and then we'll talk about it. But I've seen this with children and adults. The problem is huge and enormous at those moments, and after dinner's all over, the energy is fine and the problem isn't so big either. So this is a real key, and I hope you remember it, because I talk to a lot of people who have arguments in the home. So I know that you have to be wise about decision making. Money decisions are difficult to make in these times. You need all of your faculties. And therefore, please don't partake of too much sugar. We come to the lungs and the large intestine, created by metal energy. The taste is spicy, pungent, a hot taste, such as a daikon radish, the green part of scallions or leeks. Ginger is a wonderful energy to add to food at the very last minute before it's served, squeezing the juice of ginger right into the food. Mustard is a spicy taste. We eat very, very minute amounts of mustard. Horseradish, minute amounts. Now, as far as scallions and leeks are concerned, we don't partake of them at all. And as a substitute for the energy that scallions and leeks give in bringing the food into a point of release of energy, you use watercress. Watercress is native to the ranch and grows in our streams. Macrobiotics teaches that since we're a part of the earth, we should be partaking of things that grow in the climate where we are living, in the land where we're living. So you will find that things like daikon or watercress will have the same effect of bringing out a certain energy of the food. The grain for the lungs and the large intestine is rice, and the vegetables are vegetables with a more contracting energy. Carrot tops. How many of you have ever eaten carrot tops? Turnip greens, daikon greens, dandelion greens, watercress, and kale. This is a wonderful healing for the lungs and the large intestine. Many people have burdens with the lungs and with the large intestine. And when you begin to understand that, as one of the macrobiotic authors says, your face never lies, when you begin to realize that on your face can be read all the burdens that are in the body, you will notice that most Americans have problems with the large intestine and the lungs as well. So the way to be delivered of these problems is to cut out all dairy products, which means butter, milk, cream, and for the most part, eggs, although I like to put eggs in a separate category because I think that some people need eggs once in a while, and when you need them, you should be able to eat them. But you really don't need milk, and you don't need cream, and you don't need butter. And that substance, together with meat and salt, creates the mucus that coats the lungs and gives you difficulty throughout the body. So to clean out the effects of nicotine or marijuana or other toxins, as well as deep-seated mucus that gets in the bronchi and causes you to get sick annually, the cleaning out of that substance of the body does not take place until you make a decision to not partake of butter, cheese, milk, cream, ice cream, and byproducts thereof. It's a great liberation, I can tell you, and a great clarity of consciousness when you do this. So our lungs are the vessels, twin flames, magnificent vessels for the holy breath of the Holy Spirit that comes with cloven tongues of fire, the sacred fire breath. The expanding of the lungs, the taking in oxygen through daily exercise, brisk walking, whatever you choose to do. It's well to do it if you have time right after lunch or at a break in the afternoon, let's say at 4 o'clock. The expansion of the lungs and the taking in of that oxygen through Dwal Kul's breathing exercise puts the oxygen through all the blood, and it is the life of the Holy Spirit. And of course, it is the complement to everything we take in. So if your lungs are not functioning at that optimum capacity and your heart is not pumping and charging by daily exercise, you're missing one of the greatest benefits of being on the macrobiotic diet. Walking is very important for the healing of the intestines and for the regular rhythmic cycle of the bowels. So we will see to it that we have that afternoon period to engage in good breathing and good exercise. The kidneys and the bladder are created by water energy, and the foods that heal them are also mainly created by water energy. The taste is salty, and so we know the whole sea of the earth is also salty. Miso has that salt of the sea. Umeboshi plums, shiokombu, tamari soy sauce, and wakame powder. Too much salt is highly destructive to the body. Without salt, the body is not in balance. When you're cooking vegetables, for instance, such as broccoli, the reason you put salt in the water is so that the water without salt does not pull all of the minerals out of your food, out of your greens. With the salt in the water is not going to absorb more minerals from the broccoli, so the broccoli retains all its nutrients. We look forward to eating less and less salt, but we don't force it. We try to reduce it by measure, but things have to retain a certain amount of that salty taste. The wonderful grain for the kidneys and bladder is buckwheat. How many of you love buckwheat? It's great, isn't it? Then all kinds of beans are also here. Of course, the kidneys have a bean named after them. I hope it's not the other way around. The vegetables are root vegetables, carrots, burdock, parsnips, and daikon. The liver and the gallbladder are created by tree energy. Trees are such marvelous beings on the earth. It never ceases to be a wonder to me when I gaze upon a tree, how it is so tall into the sky, how it has, by its tree energy or air energy, defied all gravity and grown upward and away from the earth. It's a marvelous upward spiraling momentum that tells me also that I may too ascend. So this is a wonderful energy to serve the liver and gallbladder created by it, and the foods created mainly by tree energy have a sour taste. Sour taste such as brown rice vinegar, apple cider vinegar, shiso leaves, sourdough bread, sauerkraut, umeboshi plums, and most vegetable pickles. We have wonderful vegetable macrobiotic pickles that you will find on our food line. And they are good to eat in a measured balance to assist the assimilation of your meal. That's why they are there. The grains for the liver and gallbladder, and they truly love these grains: oats and wheat and barley. Great healing for these organs. The vegetables are vegetables with upward growing tendencies, just like trees: leeks, scallions, chives, sprouts, bok choy, endive. You can forget mostly the first three. If you insist upon eating them, certainly feel free to do so. I feel that the more sensitive and spiritual you become in the body, the less you will tolerate any substance of the onion family. And if you don't know the signs to look for, you may find that upon eating these substances, you get heartburn. And if you do, of course, you'll know that you are too sensitive for them. So that is a summary of the foods and how they heal and vibrate in a resonance with these organs. I would like to tell you that when these foods are properly prepared, they have maximum healing power, more than any medicine or anything that you can think of that is something that is an accelerated or heroic measure, like intense fasting or intense this or extreme that. Sometimes when you look and think about the condition in your body and think that these simple foods in the right combinations are going to heal you, it's almost unbelievable. And when you get on the macrobiotic diet and you notice things simply passing away that used to be a burden to you, you realize that it is really true. It's an alchemy of forces of yin and yang, when in the right proportion and balance, that they will heal you. Now, when you discover what is your constitution as well as your current condition, you will then be wise and alert to eat more of those foods that you need for the healing of the weakest part of yourself. And that's where we always go. We go to the weakest part of ourselves to bring it up to the levels of the rest of ourselves. And when we get that part of ourselves up, then we're concentrating on everything else that's at that level, and so forth. So as in all other parts of our personality, it is important to know our strong points and weak points. And if you have a weak organ, to identify it. And be careful of all the negative personality traits I listed for you last night that could be your Achilles heel. It could be the weakness that makes or breaks your day. So the wiser we become in self-knowledge, the greater the peace we have, even long before we may feel we are perfected. I was telling you about this drink of taking the rice and oats that has been creamed in this grinder machine for vegetables and thinning it with water and putting amasaki in it. The addition of amasaki is just enough sweetness to relax one. It's a relaxing drink. And if you are living a very high-powered day and your days are full and your work goes on to the evening and the intensity of your service, you find that you're very young just by being very active. And by being active, you have needed yang foods, which you tend to eat to keep yourself alert and strong. And all of a sudden you come to the hour in the day when it's time to put this body to bed, and it's all wound up from what it's been doing all day. So the secret of sleeping well is to take something before you go to rest that has a little bit more yinness to it or more sweetness. For instance, you could eat squash soup. Squash itself is a perfect kind of food that makes you calm. You can combine that squash with a dookie soup or other vegetables. But you can make the drink that I've described, and depending on how much sweetness you need to be able to fall asleep, the wonder of this drink is that you are really drinking rice milk and oat milk. It tastes like milk that is not animal. And when it is heated, and when the amasaki, which is a process of rice where rice becomes very sweet, adding that liquid to it, to your taste or to your need, it's a very calming and quieting drink at bedtime. It's like in the olden days you might have taken a cup of warm milk. And now, since you're not eating dairy products, you're looking for that bedtime drink, and it's very soothing because it warms the body. And you can have it very hot as you can drink it. Again, you chew your liquids, and so you process this drink in the mouth, you swallow it. You're very warm, your insides become warm, you feel at peace, you feel quiet, and you bring heat to the bed, you warm the bed up. Some people go to bed very cold because they're so used to drinking cold fruit drinks or cold vegetable drinks right out of the refrigerator. They guzzle down, let's say, a glass of apple juice, and then they're all cold. And that's not good for your organs. Now, apple juice is the one drink that you can use also to go to sleep at night. but you always heat it. So you take your whatever kind of apple juice you have, and you can dilute it according to your need and sugar tolerance, and you will soon discover this. So you can have warm or hot apple juice before retiring. And if you think you can't fall asleep, it puts you right to sleep. I personally have had this consideration in my life since I've been on the platform for many years in high-powered sessions and giving a dictation and then walking off the platform. It's not exactly the kind of vibration that is conducive to resting. And so I have found that this is a marvelous way to calm the body and to enter into sleep. Now, the way you feel in the morning when you wake up will tell you whether you drank too much sugar or not. If you feel tired and weak, like you don't want to get up in the morning, what you took as that bedtime drink may be the reason, or what you ate earlier. So all the signs in your body should be traced by you to the foods you're eating. If you feel well and great, then you're on the right track. But feeling well and great is not necessarily the acid test, since many people feel well and great who are very unhealthy. Now I'd like to take up a further definition of foods and tastes that are beneficial to the main organs. And these lists of information are taken from the macrobiotic views of Michio Kushi. I'd like to tell you then what whole grains do for you. 1, they strengthen the heart and circulatory system, always when chewed well, when cooked properly and liquefied in the mouth. Whole grains protect against high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, and other cardiovascular disorders. Whole grains lower the cholesterol level. Whole grains are beneficial for the elimination of excessive fats and mucus, reducing body weight and regaining physical and mental flexibility. Whole grains prevent and relieve diabetes, arthritis, asthma, Parkinson's disease, chronic skin disorders, various mental and psychological disorders. Whole grains help detoxify the body of harmful effects of radiation, chemicals, and drugs. Whole grains give better natural immunity to infection and disease. Whole grains give better hormonal functions. Whole grains improve mental clarity, psychological stability, and peacefulness in human relations. Whole grains strengthen physical and mental endurance. The next food is mochi. This is a pounded sweet rice. This rice is pounded and pounded and pounded. And by that pounding, by the mother, by the father, or the children in the family, they are putting the strength of their spiritual fire into the food. It produces a greater sweetness because it is broken down. Mochi is useful for people who do physical labor. It's an excellent energy source because it's had a lot of energy put into it, as well as the fire of the cooking itself. It stimulates the formation of breast milk. It strengthens nursing mothers and strengthens the muscles of the bladder. Now, however you were formed in the womb, or whether or not you were breastfed, or whether or not you ate the right foods as a child, you are feeling the effects of that today, for good or for ill. And I decided when I entered this path and this diet, as I began to tell you about it last evening, that I would enter the recreation of myself with beloved Saint Germain. And so to recreate myself, I had to go back to the point of the conception of this body temple. When we partake then of amasaki, which is so like in vibration and chemistry to mother's milk, or mochi, we're going back and creating in the body, by giving it this food, the mother's love. And by giving the body the mother's love, we are transmuting or erasing that which we may have been deprived of, or what we think we were deprived of in those formative stages. So just like when your child goes to Montessori school, or you take up the Doman method for your newborns, and you go back to those stages in your life as well, so you do this with food. If you have abused, for instance, the intestines, the colon, and they are not in good shape for the digesting of grains, you give them the soft foods. You can puree the squash and have kinds of cream soups not made with dairy, but grains. You can take your cereal in the morning as pureed. And what you are doing is sending comfort to the body and giving it something easy to digest and giving it hope and enhancing it with powers of healing. So you are the mother of your body and the father of your body, and you are nurturing it back and bringing it back to its highest manifestation. I am convinced that with a violet flame and all that has been given to us, that if Mark said that we could change our genes in a given lifetime, we can surely change our organs. Now, the prevailing philosophy is that you can never change your constitution, because that was created in the womb up to the first 3 years of your life, but you can change and better your condition. And your condition is your prevailing state of health at the moment. Now, let us not accept that limitation. Let us say that with the flame of the transfiguration, the resurrection flame and the violet flame, we can recreate ourselves, including our constitution and as well as our daily condition. Let us accept no limitations at the same time that we are realistic. Elohim have given us these bodies. Mother Mary has assisted in the creating of the heart when we were in the womb. We must know that because God has desired us to have a perfect vessel, that it is possible to achieve it. Whatever is the will of God is possible. If it's not the will of God, forget it. It never works, right? God will always remind you. Vegetables in general contribute to smooth digestive, circulatory, and nervous system functions when chewed well. Root vegetables give very stabilizing energy, contribute to physical vitality and endurance, focus the thinking, and strengthen the will. They are especially beneficial to the intestines, heart, and circulatory system and lungs. Green leafy vegetables calm the mind, stimulate mental and psychological processes, and lead to peace and tranquility. They are especially strengthening to the liver, gallbladder, and in some cases kidneys, urinary system, reproductive organs, and lungs. Carrots alleviate eye and liver conditions, improve anemia, are helpful to treat tight kidneys that are causing swollen legs. Now, it goes without saying that these vegetables are cooked. That is the macrobiotic system, which says you are putting fire and energy into the food when you cook it, and you are beginning the breakdown of the cellular casing of the cells, and you are beginning the digestive process. So cooking and how you cook is the first art you must master. You can ruin vegetables by overcooking them or not understanding the relationship of the amount of salt that you put in them and how they are actually prepared. Burdock provides strength and vitality, improves sexual functioning, promotes urination. Burdock root. Daikon radish, D-A-I-K-O-N, daikon radish, it's a long white radish, helps eliminate excess water and animal fats from the body, is helpful for digestion, especially for oily foods, helps to detoxify animal proteins and fats. Cabbage is good for the stomach and spleen. Broccoli and cauliflower are very strengthening for the lungs. Winter squashes and pumpkin are excellent for the pancreas, but just remember, if you eat too much of them and the pancreas cannot take that much sugar, you will notice it and you have to cut back. Dandelion gives vitality, makes the stomach and intestines very strong. Lotus root. This is a wonderful plant. Lotus root assists in loosening and discharging accumulated mucus in the sinuses and lungs. It makes a wonderful tea, a very warm and soothing and loving tea. Helps relieve coughing and internal bleedings. Is very beneficial to the lungs and large intestine. Fresh ginger stimulates circulation of blood and other body fluids. Pickles stimulate the appetite, aid digestion, strengthen the intestines, and blood quality. Beans. Beans contain about twice as much protein as the comparable amount of meat or dairy food. Beans have to be properly cooked and properly chewed. 100 times a mouthful will eliminate all burden and grief to the body from taking in beans. Their fat is unsaturated in quality. They are entirely free of cholesterol. They are very high in calcium, which calms the nerves. Beans produce a slow, steady source of energy. They contribute to smooth functioning of the digestive, circulatory, and nervous systems, leading to physical, mental, and psychological health and vitality. Soybeans and soybean products such as tempeh, miso, and tamari. These products reduce the cholesterol level in blood, heart, and circulatory system, reduce the risk of heart disease, have strong natural antibiotic effects, protect against the development of tumors, are beneficial to digestion, strengthen the quality of the blood, lymph, and other body fluids. Sweet rice in combination with aduki beans is good for diarrhea, stomach troubles, or other intestinal troubles. Black soybeans relieve coughing and asthma. They improve the reproductive organs, male and female. Sea vegetables are a rich source of minerals: calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, iron, iodine, vitamins A, B, B12, and C, proteins, and easily digestible carbohydrates. We can purify our bodies by eliminating the acidic effects of modern foods. This is accomplished through sea vegetables. We can help establish an alkaline blood quality with sea vegetables. They are very important in time of transition and survival. Sea vegetables prevent or improve high blood pressure, arteriosclerosis, allergies, arthritis, rheumatism, nervous disorders. Sea vegetables give elasticity to arteries, veins, and organ tissues, contributing to flexibility and smooth functioning of the body's many interrelated systems. They strengthen the blood, heart, and circulatory system. Sea vegetables help to dissolve fat and mucus deposits caused by excessive consumption of meats, dairy foods, and sugar. They strengthen the kidneys, urinary system, and reproductive organs, have strong antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, and antitumoral effects. Sea vegetables reduce cholesterol levels in the blood, contain blood coagulants similar to heparin, the body's natural blood thinner, which is often given intravenously to heart patients to prevent clotting. The sea vegetables are effective in preventing and eliminating tumors, and they protect you against nuclear radioactivity. That is the reason we are always putting seaweed in our miso soup. Seeds contain many essential nutrients. Seeds are very high in fiber, iron, calcium, vitamins A, B, and E. Seeds protect against tumor development. If taken in small volume and occasionally, they can contribute to intuition, inspiration, and creativity. Be careful not to overdo the taking of seeds. They have a lot of oil and they're very potent. Sesame seeds relieve stomach and intestinal troubles, start or increase the production of breast milk, help in case of menstrual irregularities, help in case of eyesight trouble. Gomazio, which is sesame seeds, usually toasted with salt. You can use 1 small tablespoon once or twice a day, sprinkled over grains. Gomazio neutralizes acidities, relieves tiredness, feeds and strengthens the nervous system, in particular the autonomic nervous system. It increases natural immunity, strengthens the organism, and helps prevent disease. Miso soup contains all amino acids considered essential by modern nutritionists. It helps stimulate the secretion of digestive fluids in the stomach. It helps digest and assimilate other foods in the intestines. Is a good vegetable quality source of vitamin B12. It strengthens the quality of the blood and lymph. It detoxifies the body from the harmful effects of excessive animal food, sugar, or other extreme substances. It neutralizes the body from modern contaminants such as nuclear radioactivity, industrial pollution, and artificial chemicals in the soil and food system. Regularly then, those on the diet would begin their day with a bowl of miso soup, which contains the seaweed. If you need something more than the clear soup, you can add to it green vegetables if you are healing your lungs and intestine. You can add to it carrots, and then you would accompany that with your rice oat cereal, as much as you like of both. Bancha tea is the standard and byword tea of the macrobiotic system. It's also called kukicha, and it is the little twigs, little brown twigs. You boil the twigs in water for 1 to 3 minutes, and your tea is made, and you can use those twigs probably up to 3 times. You can also buy this in tea bags. Bancha tea is high in calcium, iron, and complex carbohydrates, as well as vitamin A, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and vitamin C. It helps to decompose and digest whole grains, vegetables, beans, and sea vegetables. It is slightly alkaline. It has a beneficial effect on digestion, blood quality, and the mind. One thing that people will tell you, counselors in macrobiotics, that when you get on this diet, you may have sudden periods of extreme fatigue as the food itself is flushing out from you the various toxins and mucuses and burdens within the organs. What I found to be very helpful in accelerating this process and not in the least bit interfering with the diet is to add to bancha tea various types of mud or clay that are available on the market and in health food stores. We've spoken for many years about the tremendous absorptive quality of clay or mud. Bentonite clay. There's azomite and a number of types of clays that come out of Utah. I'm sure that each of you will find the clay that you like or just alternate using them. I keep about 3 or 4 kinds myself. And you can take a teaspoon or a couple of teaspoons, level in a cup of bancha tea, stir it up. You will take your vitamins with that tea and that clay mixture if you like. And you find that instead of prolonging the passage from you of toxins and prolonging the fatigue associated therewith, you can clear your body more quickly by that assistance and get on with what you need to be doing. It's important to not be so extreme on this diet that you put yourself to bed with a transformation. I'm not content to do that. I want to be busy through the day. If you have to lie down for a half hour, perhaps, and rest, that's one thing. But if you have to go to bed and lie there, you're either very sick to begin with and probably doing the right thing, or if you're not a severe case, you're simply going at this with too much zeal. So back off and give your body elemental a break and know that the daily rhythm of work and service is very good for health. So that's about the sum and substance of what I want to tell you right now, and I think it's a very good time to break and enjoy a lovely meal. So we're looking forward to see you this evening, and I'd like to seal our service by singing to our beloved God and Goddess Meru. 471, please stand.
God may rule on Titicaca's shore, thy retreats and there to bless mankind. 'Tis the focus of illumination's flame, gift of God to soul and mind, blazing there in the golden and sacred heart, ever waiting for man to seek its love. The love of the ones who now guard its holy line, holding balance in this cosmic art. At thy side, thy complement divine, lovely goddess of this sacred flame, ever stand and pure, purifying power, raises all in the eye and name. Now our love ever flows from every earnest heart, to enfold all who serve to set life free, knowing well of thy service that forms a mighty part of the building of the world to be. Blessed flame, illumination's star, to the minds of all who seek thy light, ever send thy love from Titicaca's shore, that each one may feel thy light, penetrating the hearts of those who stand for truth, in a world ever changing day by day, ever endeavoring to be steadfast, beacons to our youth, symbols of the light, the truth, the way.
Beloved mighty I Am Presence, beloved God and Goddess Meru, our sponsors, whose twin causal bodies are suspended over this retreat, we pour our heart's love to you for illumination's flame, to our beloved Lord Lanto, to the magnificent presence of those who have spoken to us to deliver their action of the sacred fire. Therefore, beloved ones, take us now to sponsor us, to bring cosmic Christ illumination into every area of life, on every ray of cosmic service, of all light bearers evolving on planet Earth. Raise the standards of this civilization, raise the consciousness of the people to demand higher standards of excellence in all areas. Beloved God and Goddess Meru, slay the beast of mediocrity, of self-satisfaction in lesser modes, slay the beast of anti-Christ and anti-excellence, bind all witchcraft and black magic practiced by ourselves unwittingly against ourselves and our beloved body elemental. Raise us up now, pillars of illumination's flame. Now let there be the self-emptying of our organs, stimulated by the Holy Spirit in right food, right thought, contemplation, feeling, and livelihood, right understanding. And therefore, by the self-emptying and the filling again, hour by the yin and the yang forces of life, prepare us to be the living chalice for world service as world teachers. We bow to the light of the flame of Lake Titicaca. We bow to the light of the Lords of the Seven Rays. We thank you for your presence, your enlightenment, and your love. In the peace that passes understanding, in the infilling of our temples with love and light. We thank you, O God, for this cosmos that does sustain us and love us always. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the Divine Mother. Amen.